Okay, my friends, I just did a interview with another guy, and it went quite a long time, so this is going to be quite a long video. And it was originally about acceleration of light and fission and fusion and, electron showers and possibly getting free energy and all of that. But it got very deep into a lot of things. But hopefully somebody would take an interest in the possibility of getting free energy. And then the other thing is we want to understand about the Earth and about our past and about everything, basically. So, and it went very well, and I guess we're going to start to have regular discussions, I'm hoping. And that's what his intention was. He asked if I would, and I said absolutely. So I'm going to sort of drag you through this, and this is all of this stuff explained. Say absurd. These are the two particles. There is no difference whatsoever to what they say. And here's Don Lincoln's. There it is, right there. Those are the particles. And I'm going to show you they do exactly what he says they do. The black one is a bowling ball. It has all the mass and no magnetic energy. This one has all the magnetic energy and burn and has no mass. And I'll show you that right now in this atomic bomb blast. Watch this. An atomic bomb, what they do is they make so much density of material. It is so dense that it wants to fall apart already. There's so many particles packed in such a small space. They call it fissionable. It easily breaks apart. And then what they do is they pack tons of explosive around it to force itself to compact even more. And when that happens, it bounces out. And when it bounces out, the white comes first because it's the white always surrounds the black. So the black is on the inside. I showed you that here. This is what the black is going to be. Hold on. This is what an atomic bomb looks like right there. You see that? That black is all of the dark matter. And every white matter has a dark matter attached to it. It's just the nature of the particles. They're bar magnets. Now, but the white always crusts around the black. So the white is always around the black. Now, you compress that, and the white bounces out of here like a rocket ship. And all it is the white, without any black. The black comes later. And can I prove that? Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. Here it is right here. This is an atomic bomb blast. And an atomic bomb does just what I said. The white is going to come first, all by itself. It has no mass whatsoever, but burn like hell. Where do you see this? This floors me. Every time I see it, I just get, my hair on my legs just started shaking, man. Now watch this. When this bomb goes off, all you're going to see is brilliant white. Let me set this down to 25%. And I'm going to turn the sound off because there it goes like that. Okay, here we go. Now, it's 25%. This is a test bomb, a test house. I'm going to stop it as it evolves through the sequence. All right, and this is atom central. All right, here goes. The first thing is going to be just absolute brilliant whiteness, and then I'm going to stop it. All right, get ready. Boom. All right, I just stopped it. All you see is white, and guess what you're seeing? 100% of the electrons that are in the air have just become stimulated. And that's all that happened. They just stimulate, and they don't move. There's nothing here has moved at all. And wait till you see this. This is a shocker. So at this point, the black is still way back at the tarmac. Now, I'm going to keep going here. Now the white starts to just stop. Now look at the house. Look at what happens to the house. The house hasn't moved. That house hasn't moved. Look at the poles. Look at the wires. They're just smoke. Nothing, not a damn thing moved. These white particles have no mass whatsoever to speak of. But anything that's combustible whatsoever just fuses. It just fumes and destructs. Now, you see this iron tank here, or this steel tank on the side. Nothing's going to happen to that because it has no combustible material. You have to have something that the electrons can dig into and work their way in, but there's no movement. Now watch. I'm going to start it up again. Every single combustible part will be combusted off, and then the dark matter will hit. Watch. It's just smokes. Look, it just smoked. Now it's just about gone. Watch what happens now. Boom. All right. I think anybody in their right mind would agree those are two separate events. One of them, no question whatsoever, is a burning, non-moving event. All right. Burning, non-moving.
So is the second event the black or dark matter part of it?
Exactly correct. Because the dark matter is
with you.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to stick with you because that's what I got out of what you're teaching here.
Yep, that's exactly right. It can't be missed. The white is a bouncy material, and wait till I show you. We see this in our experiments. I'm going to show you in a minute.
So why do they act like they're not quite sure if dark matter exists if they've been experimenting with it since the 40s, 30s? I don't know.
They don't. You can't even imagine the level of incompetence. You couldn't even come close to imagining how incompetent these people are. I've been trying to work with them since 2015. Don Lincoln specifically of Fermilab. He's their senior spokesman and senior scientist, and I had it out with him. Didn't go well. And he told me, he says, don't ever contact us. I says, I got your particles. I can do this. We can do this for almost nothing. Don't ever contact us again. So that's what he called me, a tinfoil hat guy. Forget about it. Now let me show you this. Again, the two events. The first one here, I'm just going to let it play through. Nothing but white particles. So every particle in the air has literally combusted. Now the poles, the wires, everything is smoked off. And now comes the black matter. Now, so I proved that. Now watch this. I'm going to show you this happen in our experiments. All right.
Now wait, can we watch one with a little bit of sound so we can see a little bit more of what happens?
This is what I'm
the atomic bomb. I've never seen anything like that before.
You want to see that?
Turn the sound off? Could you turn it on like low or something? I wanted to see the two sounding events.
Well, you're not going to hear. That's the problem. If I put the sound on and I run it slow, it's going to go. Rrr. I'll run it at the full speed, and you see what you think. Hold on. I had it running real slow so we could see it slow. Hold on. That'll knock your socks off. All right, now I'll run it at full speed. All right, here. You ready? All right, let's do it again. I got another one. If I could find it, I could show you that one. Because before, it's going to get too confusing. Listen to this. Listen.
Yeah, I just thought that I would be looking for two different sounds.
No. Well, yes. You are right. But the first sound is like a little. That's all you hear. It's just very, very slight sound. And that's when you see all the white particles come out. And then you see a ripple come across the desert, and that's when and it takes like almost 30 seconds or so when they did these tests for that wave to hit. It's just like right now. I'm going to let it go. Here we go. Boom, there it goes. All right, so you don't really hear anything until the black hits, and here's the black actually hitting. Let me shut this down. Here's the black actually hitting. pushed by the white. You see this? You see the black? You see the black?
So it looks like to me something we would think would be a solar flare, and that black part always is more powerful in the back there that comes. We look at the sun a lot, and that looks just like a solar flare would look.
That's exactly what it is. All light is the same. I don't care where you get it from. When we came through this Venturi, the Venturi can pinch really, really tight, or it can be somewhat open. If it's really, really tight, all you're going to get is the white. And I've shown that. Here it is right here. All you got is the white. You see, there's no black whatsoever here. Zero, none, nada. But the black is all over here. It's separated. This is fission, and this is fusion when they come back together. In the middle, you have raw electricity. We should be able to harvest this, man.
So do you believe that they've actually, latest information, they had created fusion, but they were putting more power into it than was actually being produced? But they claim here, just within the last 6 months here, only in America, that they have created fusion that creates more power than put into the experiment.
No, I said that it's insane. They are totally 100% wrong. They will never ever.
Have you seen the new big fusion plant and the battery that's big as it could lift a battleship that they sent over to France?
I haven't seen exactly that, but I follow this pretty close. I know what they're doing, but all they're doing, they think they can break something apart, and when it comes back together, they're going to get a ton of extra stuff. You can't break things apart by breaking them. You have to let them break themselves, and that's what we did right here. This Venturi requires no energy whatsoever. You shine a light into this. Let me show you what my design is right here. You could carry this around in a shoebox. These lasers are so tiny you could have thousands of them in here, shining into these little receivers. And so here's your laser. You see my cursor here? It's just a little tiny laser. And it shoots out the black and the white. The black cannot get through. The black cannot get through. The white is, if you have anybody listening in that is an electrical engineer, when you create electricity, all you're creating is this white. You have to strip the white from the black. And you do that in a generator or, a solar panel. But what you have to do is get the white away from the black. That's why when you charge your battery, the battery, you can't hardly tell if it's charged up at all. As far as weight goes, it will increase the weight just a taste, but it increases a hell of a lot of energy, and that's what you got right here, a hell of a lot of energy and no weight, just like I showed you, all that burning. And we've separated this all by itself. And if we can put a harvester right there, and there's really no reason we shouldn't be able to do this. And I've been trying.
Let me ask you, isn't this just like harvesting solar energy, if you will?
Exactly. Identical. No difference whatsoever. None. Zero. But you don't have. This isn't all.
Why they're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on colliders and this fusion machine, if it could be done less expensively, more economically, smarter, etc., right?
It's all about money, my friend. I was so upset about Fermilab's rejection of me, showing them their own particles, showing them the particles that I found. They do exactly what they wanted. Here they are. We spent less than $500 to do this. And we can do this all day long. We're not doing this a shot and then an hour later we can get another shot and an hour later. We can just squirt this all day long and never stop. And it's so small and so powerful, they claim you should be able to get a minimum. You see here I got 5 watts and 1,000 watts over here. They say you should get a minimum, if you can break the white from the black, it's called electron showers, minimum 200 times what you put in. So 5 watts would turn out to be 1,000 watts. Now, can I prove that? Yes, I can. Here's their statements, and I agree with them 100%. Electron showers. First of all, let
me ask you a question. Why do they have that Fermilab? I call it a straight collider between Chicago and South Dakota to catch neutrinos. But why do they want to catch them?
Because all they know about neutrinos is they speculate they exist. I can show you the neutrinos. You want to see neutrinos? I'll show you right now.
But why do they? Obviously, they say they caught a bunch of the South Pole at whatever it's called, polar cap or
Ice cube.
Ice cube. You're totally right, and they caught a bunch also here.
Let me tell you something. They are idiots. They are freaking idiots. Let me tell you something right now. You see what you're looking at the top here, muon, neutrino, electron, neutrino. Those are neutrinos. That's what they're looking for, the tiniest particles that exist. When you hit those into an air, they form together as the Dirac neutrino, the black and the white, okay? Now, when you hit heavy water, the muon goes on its own and stays what they call sterile muon. It doesn't change. It's that black ball. It does not change ever. The white one goes into showers. This is it right here. There's the black ball right there. And they're the same black, they never change, the same ones everywhere. And they desperately want to be attached to that white. That's what electricity is. The white wants to push itself back into that black. Here we have 100% electricity. This is what you want when you charge your battery. All you want to do is squirt that white into a battery. It has no weight to speak of, but it's got all that burn. All right, and here's how I would say to do it. The lasers shoot, and you can have them tiny. You can have built-in little chips, just unbelievably small. They can fire those blue lasers. You want at least blue. Ultraviolet probably would be better.
So, do you imagine one of these very small laser situations at every house that creates enough energy for the whole house to live on, or
100%, 100%, 100%.
So me and you think a lot of different levels here. You could sell one of these gadgets if you could get it to collect, which would be the part that you'd have to do a little bit more studying on. Collect the energy from the reaction. And then instead of using so much electricity, everyone could use just a very small portion and be granted a much greater portion, right?
Yeah, you just use a tiny bit of it to keep your laser running, and then you tap off it. And here's like this little device here, and this is just a Geiger counter, but I'm showing it.
Can you make about 350,000 of those for me?
I'm telling you right now, listen to me, and I am not kidding you. If they would look at this stuff is off-the-shelf stuff. They can carry, these lasers are available a dime a dozen. The Venturi, you could make these 100 million of them in a day. They're just nothing more than a little restriction, and it has.
I guess the capture.
That's all this is. This is only. There's a thing called perovskites now. Look, you see this? And all this stuff. All right, this is the new stuff. The material may change the solar industry forever. All right, and all it is transition metals. All right, and here's the problem. When you got an outside panel and it has to be able to withstand getting hit by hail and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they build them pretty strong, these outside panels. A perovskite is a little different. It's a class of carbon and organic molecules and all kinds of different metals because they all absorb different frequencies. right now they don't absorb a whole lot of frequencies, so they only get a certain percentage of those frequencies absorbed. If you have enough absorption, you can get all of those. But you have to use these new, here it says, it talks about the efficiencies and how they're getting better and better and the different metals. And anyway, we can harvest more energy, but we still should right at this moment be able to get at least a 50% return on whatever, an over return, not just a return, an over return. The only reason they're getting any energy from what they're talking about fusion is because they put so much energy in, and now the stuff is coming back together and giving off its energy, and then they're recouping that and saying, "Wow, look at all this energy we got." Well, you spent $1 trillion to make the machine. It only works once every week. That kind of stuff is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and they refuse to engage with me. And
so they said they couldn't hear me when I was speaking. I said, well, theoretically, if we could harness that, each house could have a small little, laser that created the energy. But the problem we had was harnessing it. And you said it could be done for very little.
There is no problem. No. Hold on. There is no problem whatsoever harvesting it. None, zero. There is less than a problem because we are going to be in our own little environment in this little box. And we are going to have our harvester here on a wall, let's say. We don't care about lightning or storms or rain or hail or any of that stuff. So what we're going to have is transition metals. All right, transition metals are all the different colored metals. Like, I don't know if you can see. Well, never mind. Well, can you see that?
We can see the.
Nah, never mind. They're if you want to look it up, they're metals that have. They're just the metals, in the middle of the periodic chart. And those are actually the things that carry biology through your body because they have oxidation states. And those oxidation states are the same things that will accept the electrons because they almost become oxidized. And then they give up that little energetic value. I can make it confusing, I can make it simple. Just think of it this way. We're going to paint on here about 5 or 6 different paints, and each paint absorbs a different color. All right, just like a spectrum, just like the spectrum. All right, you see how they're showing the different colors here? That's true. The red is just, there's no real energy there. Then you get into the yellow, there's pretty good energy. Then you get into the green, and there's quite a bit of energy. Then you get into the blue, and there's a hell of a lot of energy. And then you get into the ultraviolet. And then you get into X-rays and gamma rays. Well, X-rays and gamma rays don't have any electrons left. As you build up and get hotter and hotter and hotter, you keep giving off more and more electrons. Then you get to what they call the ultraviolet catastrophe, which means all of a sudden no more electrons. And that's because they've all been given up in the heat phase of pushing heat away. Electrons are heat. I don't know, I'm sure that was confusing, but electrons are heat. And when you take absolute zero, all right, absolute zero means you have absolutely zero extra electrons. All right, every electron inside of a mass of anything that sits, an extra electron, like in here. See all these little particles glowing? Those are extra electrons, and they are getting pumped up because of this wave coming through here. Think of that as electricity. All right, all of these little particles are also pushing back against this because they are electrons, right? If you took all the electrons out of here and brought this to absolute zero, that means you've taken every single extra electron out. They'd be gone. There's nothing in the way of it. Zip, it goes right through there. That's what superconductivity is. And it only happens at absolute zero. However, as soon as you put any electron whatsoever into that mix that has no electrons, it's all over. It starts repelling that forward conduction. You understand what I'm saying? You have to take every electron out, and if even one or two comes back in here, it's going to oppose this thing coming through it. So that then you lose your superconductivity. Superconductivity is an impossible thing. It's just never going to happen. You can get very conductive, but you can't get superconductive without just for an instant. You can do it for an instant, but it's worthless, basically. All right, this is superconductivity right here. That's superconductivity. When that white is going, there's nothing stopping it. The black has gone away, and it's coming through here with a vengeance. And that's fission, and that's fusion. And I told you about the neutrinos. Here's your neutrinos. All right, remember this particle. That's the photon, right? You're with me on this. There's the red photon. Same thing Don Lincoln was looking for. Only they could only see little bits and pieces of them and had no clue where they came from. All right, here's what they would see. This. They're smashing these big particles, a neutron, proton, smashing big, bam, smashed all over. Look at all this nonsense we got out here. Well, every now and then they see the same stuff. We started with this. We didn't start with all these monsters. These are just nothing but garbage. Now, out of this, we found the red, the blue, and the green photons. I mean, electron neutrinos. And here I'm going to show you in a second. But balled up together, they make a photon. And all they see is all this garbage, and they have no idea what it does. And they say, we can't figure out neutrinos because they make flavors. Well, you know the red particle, there it is right there. All right, that's the photon. Well, before it became a photon, here it was a neutrino. It wasn't glowing, it wasn't into its photon phase yet. It was still a neutrino, but it has a black and a white. Then it turns sideways because it's getting ready to concuss. And then it turned into a regular photon. And then here it just exploded. And that's when it separated. So we have our neutrinos, and they have different flavors, and that just means they're different energetic values. And they get more energetic as they approach the Venturi and crush against each other. The green does exactly the same thing. You see, there's the green ones. Same photon. Identical same photon. But and the same neutrinos too. But it's much, much, much more powerful. And here they are too, both of them at the same time. I think I got it, here it is right here. Going through the same Venturi at the same time. See the red, how dim looking it is and how powerful looking the green is? And the green just pushes the red right out of the way and reconcusses out here. They're the same particles. It's just that the green is much more intense than the red, and the blue is off the scales. The blue is so hot. Wait a minute. I don't have one showing here, the blue. The blue is just a rocket ship. You can't do anything with it. Hold on. You see that one? And you can speed up light, you can slow it down. This is all nonsense that they teach in physics. Here as it comes through, you see this little, it looks like a single particle. And it's coming 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I mean, it's just faster than hell. And then it starts to slow down and it starts to drifting. And then you start to see that it is actually a photon with 2 whites and 2 blacks. But it's so fast that you can't make it out until it slows down enough that you can see it. And what else haven't I shown you? This is their big deal about Higgs bosons. You see this? You see these little circles? These are the circles they see as the particles cascade away from their collision. You want to see a collision making Higgs fields? And they claim we're going to get 25 million Higgs fields this year. A whole year, huh?
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in, and that would bring us right back to the picture you just showed, and let me do the audio so they might be able to hear my question, but do you believe in any of these, I call them like M theory, string theory, superstring theory, any of that vibrational frequency, dimension type things?
Well, those are basically just words that, string theory, and I call it spring theory because they bounce. You shine a light on a wall, all right? You shine a light on a wall, you look at the wall, and what do you see? You see something green, you see something blue, you see something yellow, you see something red. It's the same light you shined on that wall, all right? So we have to agree it's the same light, no question whatsoever, and it hits that wall, but you see all these different colors. Why? The reason is because they bounce differently. You're sending in a bouncy particle. You're sending it in like a balloon. And if it just hits something hard like a rock wall, a stone wall, bow, it's going to bounce back kind of hard. If it hits a pillow, it's just going to bounce back lightly. And that is the story with red, blue, and green. And that's why the red, you see, this is more or less, it's obviously an artist's rendition, but the blue and the green and the yellow are way down close to the nucleus where I'm going here. The reds are way out here anyway. So when these things smash together, the reds just sort of, oh well, it's like a wave. Down here, when you pull those things apart and smash those to bits, they go and they never come back. All right, that's the difference. And they can see them go, but they have no idea where even they came from. We started with the particles they want to find. We started with the exact particles that they're trying to find. And then we divided those. And then we could collect this white right here. If you could collect that without doing anything, just letting it dribble into a battery, and it should just basically dribble, you could squirt it in here. Because what you're doing when this pulse laser comes up, all right, think of it this way. This is a pulse. All right, so you saw the black push the white. So you got a black and a white stripe, a black and a white stripe, a black and a white stripe, a black and they're bam, 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 bam. And the black can't get through. It just can't get through. It just keeps piling up on itself, pushing the white. The white just keeps squirting through. And it's just like a slapping it with a paddle. Bam, bam, bam. And the harder you hit it, and that's the blue is the hardest, the more voltage you'll create. Voltage is pressure. So if we're just with the red, we go bip, 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 you're going to maybe make it a couple of volts, 5 volts or something. But if you hit it with the green, you may get 12 volts. Because it's going bam, 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 bam. You hit it with the blue, and you could get maybe, I don't know, 40 volts, 50 volts, I have no idea. Bam, 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 and you're hitting it just, and now you can regulate how many pulses you have. This is something very simple to do. You just like twisting a dial. How many pulses will regulate it, and then you lock it in at that best setting.
I want to take you just briefly off the subject because me and my subscribers always fight about this. I don't believe that the U.S. went to the moon back in '69, but I find that at least 30 to 50% of the people, especially older people, believe it or not, because they saw it on TV. They believe that we went to the moon numerous times, 240,000 miles away, landed on the moon, took back off, hooked up with the orbiter, and then came back 230,000 miles and splashed down in the ocean several times. And I just can't accept that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do accept it, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do agree, it's an exceptional feat. But I have a lot of people talk about Mars too. Oh, we never went to Mars. Well, there's no question whatsoever, 100% certainty that the Curiosity rover was on Mars, and I can show you this if you want to see it right now. The evidence to prove that. And as far as the moon,
sure.
You want to see it?
I'd
Here
love
goes.
to see it because I've always shown that they had the same setup on Devon Island.
I know. I hear that all the time. Drives me crazy. Trust me. When you see, you tell me what you think. All right. I'll give you the chance to say, Roger, no, that's not right. And then we'll see who prevails. How about that? Hold on. It takes a second to settle in. I got so many freaking pictures in here. What I'm going to be showing you is the Curiosity mission. All right, this goes back to.
Now, Roger, you have to admit, if you've ever looked at Starship, the program down in Boca Chica, Texas, that they're supposedly building that big steel rocket to go to Mars 34 million miles away, you got to admit that that's pretty much of a big joke, right? I mean.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but Mars, and no question whatsoever, we've been to Mars.
This is to take people to Mars, and that would bring us right into the Van Allen belts. You don't think that those are highly radioactive? And if they are not, why didn't India, China, and Russia send manned? They sent only unmanned missions to the moon, not Mars necessarily. But I'll take a look at what you got.
Well, that's all speculation, man. I know that John Glenn, when he went up and orbited the Earth, he reported on the fireflies. Do you know about this? The fireflies?
Yes, sir, I do. I've heard him report.
All right. The fireflies are the particles that are in space that surround the Earth. And all they are is dust and light and all that stuff. And that creates an ionosphere. An ionosphere is all charged particles. And it's very hot out there, I agree. To penetrate that, I don't know exactly how the technology works. I have to be perfectly honest with you. But I do know they're getting out of the atmosphere. But that people call that the firmament. Well, it's the ionosphere. And it is a scrub zone. It's our outside envelope of our atmosphere. And it's almost 100% electrons.
Well, we've been watching it over the since about 2017, deplenish in strength quite a bit, have holes here and there quite a bit. Also, seeing the poles move together towards Indonesia, at least the magnetic poles, right?
That's because it's charging up. We're charging up just exactly like that particle I showed you. We are spinning through space identical, and we will have a flip. We're spinning through space. Hold on, where did it go? Here. You see that little red one down here? That one right there is getting charged up. And then you do have a magnetic flip. Then this one will come forward, and this one will go to the back. And it changes the poles, which will give you, in space, it's different. But anyway, yes, magnetic poles can shift. That's not a problem. I agree with that. But as far as going to Mars goes, this is what they call the Mars crab. You know what? I got a better way to do this. If you really want to see this, I'll show you, because...
Sure.
All right, let me go to my... This will take a minute, but it won't take long. I just did this about Mars and Mars crabs and all this stuff. All right, here it is right here. All right. We'll go
There's
through a
one simple
commercial.
vision hack anyone can use to improve vision, so you can say goodbye to your optometrist for good. Did you know?
Okay, my friends, another shocker du jour. I've been talking about Mars for years and years. 2014, 2015, they had the Curiosity rover up there, and they went to Mars, so just get off of that stuff. They went up there and they sent back pictures, which I. All right, look, I'm gonna jump through it, but here they are.
Turn it up like you had it at the very beginning or the first. It was great.
Say that again.
Turn the volume like you had it right when it started.
Oh, you want it high? Okay, yeah, no problem. I thought it was too high. Okay, go ahead. Hold on a second. They had the Curiosity rover. Is that okay? Is that a better volume? Better?
Yes, sir. It sounds a lot better.
Okay, let me show you what they did. They went up onto Mars, and this particular channel is saying, "Oh, people see faces out there in the sky, like that's a face or something." Pareidolia. They were making fun of basically me. Now, this is the Perseverance. I mean the rover that they have up there. I think this is Perseverance, and it's going around looking for things, and they say the tricks and illusions and all of this stuff. Nobody knows what's going on. Well, this is the Curiosity rover. All right, this goes back to 2015. I followed this as close as the people at Mission Control. I knew every little detail about this. And they landed on Mars, and this little rover is still running out there. And I think it's still functional. Now, here's what it did. I'm going to actually play this. All right, you ready? Here goes. Let me come back to here. I'm just going to say, here's what happened. Proves the biology, and it's the same as on Earth. It's literally identical. Okay, get ready. This is case number 1. This right here is this here in a blow-up. They called it the Mars crab, and everybody laughed. Well, it's not a crab, I agree. But this is an artery, and that is the vein. They usually come in pairs. The artery brings it. Hey, Jim, I am going to run in the other room for a minute or two here. I'm just going to let it play because I think this is going to.
Yes, sir.
It'll make it a lot more understandable as well. Well, here he goes. You ready? Here it goes. It down, the vein brings it back. These are blood vessels that are coming out of that artery into these, what they call sarcomeres. See these slit down here, slit over here, and slit over here, and all these tiny little slots? This vein, artery, services the blood that is required to make that muscle work. And this, my friends, is an actual picture of what muscle sarcomeres look like. They have these stripes down here and these here, and then they're in blocks. They pinch together. That's a pinch together one, and this is a relaxed one. That's how your muscles contract. Now, there's got to be a ton of blood. That's the red stuff. And then the other stuff is the connective tissue, but it slides back and forth. And there's just literally thousands of layers, just as you saw a moment ago right there. You see these layers? What would cause that? And all of this red stuff is literally dusty blood that ran out from these tissues. There's a soft tissue in there, and then there's these hard connective tissues. Simple as that. You see this? This should blow your mind. That is interstitium in the skin, or in any fascia in your membranes and so forth. And these little balls anchor the fleshy stuff so that it comes back to where it's supposed to, so you don't go flying all over your body. Those balls are these balls right here. They call them Moki marbles. They're in Utah, Arizona, in that area. These balls are the same as these balls right here. This is the United Kingdom, Huntington Beach. This is the skin or the mucosa, which is just the coating, and this is the fleshy stuff, which is called the fascia. And the balls have come out of the fascia because they're tough. They're tough as hell. You see them? They're all over the place. And this would have been up here somewhere, fleshy stuff, and it all eroded away. On Earth, things can erode. In Mars, they can't. Well, I'll show you what these balls are in Mars. Now, don't forget. These, and they get big, big, big. These aren't even huge. There's huge, huge, huge ones on Earth as there are on Mars, I'm sure. Now, so I showed you these balls, same balls as these. Well, guess what this is? These are the same balls right here, you see? These still have the straps. attached to them. Remember, there was straps attached to all those balls. If you pull the skin open here, it stretches. Here it's squished together. It's just the way it works. It's supposed to be something like this when you're just sort of relaxed and you're not pulling on something. All right, so you can stretch these. Now, on Mars, there's no water to speak of. Normally, this would have all eroded away and you'd have mud all over. Mars is just sandblasted. So you end up seeing the straps stretched, and in the mounded spots, the straps will wear away. The balls are tough. Those are the things that just don't go away. As you can see right here, they don't go away. The straps are very easily gone, and that's where these straps are right here. You see the balls? They have two types of straps. They have a springy one that lets it open back up, that ball of moisture, so that you have your skin stays plump, let's say. And then you have this really fabricy, gooey stuff that lets you stretch all around. That's this. Now you see these balls? Look at this. This is what it looks like in a microscope shot in a human being. And this right here is the layers of skin that usually nobody knows about this. They think it's just one layer of skin. There's thousands of them almost. I don't know how many, but it's at least hundreds. And they're all over the place. And they never realized this was even here before, because by the time the autopsy people got it, it was flat. All this had gone away. They thought it was a dense wall, and it's not. This just came 2018. They did the article about it. They consider this a new organ now. They didn't realize that's where all this. Well, let me show you something. All right, what I was just showing you was tissue layers. Meet your interstitium, newfound organ. That's it right here. And this is this fluid-filled highway. And that's where all your enzymes travel through your body. But by the time they saw it in the autopsies, it was flat. They didn't know this was like a fluid-filled highway. See, over here, scientists discovered new organ consists of fluids-filled spaces. Again, it was flat, and they thought it was a dense mat. The truth is, I discovered this in the mud fossils, as I'm showing you, when I realized they were living creatures at one point, and that what the hell is this stuff? I got a hold of a guy who did fascia. He's an autopsy guy, and I talked to him about it. He says, "Oh, that's just what they call fuzz." And I said, "What do you mean fuzz?" He says, "Well, it's just a fluffy stuff that it really doesn't do anything. It pads." And I said, "No, there's something else going on here." So this was in 2009. I got a hold of him because his video said, "What's the fuzz?" or something like, "Let's look at the fuzz" or something. And it was about fascia. 2 years later, he did another video called "Reconsidering the Fuzz." And from then on, I bounced back and forth with him. He doesn't want really me to mention his name because I'm talking about giants. But anyway, here goes. Now don't forget, I'm going back to curiosity. See this? This was curiosity. NASA's Curiosity rover spots a strange thing. What is this? Then they just forget about it. Oh well, have a nice day. We forgot about this. Let's just go home and whatever. But that was from curiosity. This was from curiosity. These are the Mars blueberries. These are nothing more than the Moki marbles, identical. No question whatsoever about that as far as I'm concerned. And the same thing with the Morse code. Now, you would never, ever have this layout like this. It would erode. I think I mentioned that before. The mud would make it erode down into all muddy, and then the balls would separate out. But on Mars, it was impacted by Venus. And I also mentioned that in here. And the scars are very, very clear. And it was all written about by Velikovsky. All this stuff was recorded by Velikovsky. Now, you still okay with me going down this route, Jim?
I want you to go down whatever route you want to take us down.
All right, let's go through this, because this is our true reality that they just can't get their heads around. Now, listen to this. Again, Mars was... What happened was Jupiter was called the feared god Jupiter, who was Zeus. And he was here on Earth, changed himself from his godly form of Jupiter, the planet, literally down to the size of a human god, to have sex with the women, and then they all turned into giants and monsters. And then he had to wipe out Earth. So the same guy that created the problem was the guy who said, I'll solve it, I'll send Venus out. And he sent Venus out of his vagina. I'm not kidding you. And Venus...
So, hey, it's interesting, and you're like me. You're very scientific, but you also believe that everything written about a lot of the giants and the planets are true, basically.
I only believe what I can prove. Here's Venus's... This was where Whoops. Hold on a second. Okay. To where Venus... You see that? That's where the red spot is on Venus. This was written about 4,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, that Jupiter, the feared god Jupiter, gave birth to the fiery comet Venus, which is the planet Venus, and it took 7 days to approach Earth, and it was 10 times more brilliant than the sun. It literally cooked the Earth on its way, boiled all the waters on the Earth almost, and that's what created all my mud fossils. And Yale agrees with this. People don't know this. I presented all my work to them years and years ago, and then they wrote a paper on it taking credit for it. And I'll show you the paper in a second. But this is a vagina, my friends. That is a vagina. Now listen to what I have to say here. Was born, literally born. And that's what it says in the ancient text. Zeus, who is Jupiter, gave birth to the fiery comet Venus. And at that time it was just a fiery, glowy red or white, I don't know whatever it was, but it came at Earth for 7 days, literally cooked Earth, and then skimmed off our atmosphere, and that was the Great Flood. That's what created all my mud fossils, and I have them coming out of my ears, and everybody does. They're everywhere. And this is exactly what it looks like coming out of Jupiter. That's the size of Earth, which is the size of Venus, out of that red spot, which is a vagina. Now, right, that's the little tab that tabs in a vagina at the bottom so that it's locked into the body, literally. This is literally the hairline. All right, and the rest is pretty obvious to most people. Okay, pay attention to this. They're talking about we have biases. We think we see things, and we just latch onto that so desperately that we can't detach from it. Well, that's true, but the bias is the mainstream bias, not my bias. My bias is reality. Now watch what he has to say.
Bias from ourselves, and yet biases can cause us to interpret data in such a way as to allow ourselves to be fooled by tricks and illusions. Although NASA was quick to recognize the artificial materials as their own, it would have been easy for someone with less rigor to try to connect such discovery to alien technology. After all, the temptation is surely there. The person who proved alien life existed would forever go down in the history books. But without taking time to double check that what we want to see isn't clouding what we are seeing, we might go down in history for a very different reason. Nobody wants to be famous for being the person who saw aliens when they were only rocks and debris in a crater, after all.
Well, let me tell you something. Nobody wants to go down as dismissing reality. That's what happened. They just dismissed reality. That was basically against me, I think. Because I'm saying, and I have so much evidence that it's just, they can't fight back other than to make these silly little things like that. But anyway, that was my video there. What I go from here.
So me and you are going to differ there, thinking that, well, I don't think that we even went to the moon in the 60s. I think we were too far behind. But I think we're gonna actually come together on most everything. I think that we might have sent, I know we sent unmanned modules to the moon, and we might have made it to Mars with an unmanned module and rover and helicopter. But to me, 34 million miles with no mistakes is a long way.
Yeah,
Right?
but I agree with you. That it is a spectacular achievement. But do you know what they did with Comet 67P? Let me show you something. You want
Is that the
to?
one they blew up into pieces?
No. This is the one they landed a lander on, and then this I also followed. I get some pretty. I get treated pretty good in that.
It's always because they want the minerals from these things. If they're countries like Niger this week, or if they're asteroids, they're looking for money. It's always follow the money.
Everything is about money. That's why I am basically one of the only people who can do this because I don't care, and I know the answers, and I don't care. But they still won't take the answers, even though they're so obvious that you can't miss them. Now watch this. I studied this, and I was in contact with all of everything about this. Now here's Comet 67P. All right. This goes back to 2015. What you're looking at here is biology. All right, this is, I think I came up with the fact that it was a hip socket, and I'll show you why in a second. But you see this big thing shooting out of there? Why would that do that? Why would that do that? Think about it over. Think, why would that big blast come out of there? Now, look at this one. Why would these little things be shooting up all over the place here? Why are they shooting up like this? Why would they do that? And why are these shooting off to the side? And how come nothing's coming off of these other places? What would do that? What do you think would do that? What vapors
It would
off?
be a thruster of some sort, or thrusters.
No. Here I can tell you exactly what it is. This is a tendon. It's a biology, and this, my friend, right here is the artery, which brings all the blood down to service all of these little blood vessels. Because every one of these has to bring blood to every single molecule in your body. That's why every one of these is a blood vessel. These are the little ones. This is the artery. That one there has the blood to service the whole deal. Now, this is, like I say, a hip. Let me show you the other pictures of it. All right, let's see. All right, here's the one that shows. You see this little round spot right there? That round spot is a muscle bundle. And these are the muscle fibers. Each one of these little pinchy looking like the lips, those are muscle fibers. And they break off flat as a pancake. It's called an abrupt transition. These little straps are tendons. All right. All this dust is really just fleshy little blood cells and so forth. And they did it. They landed. It was called the Philae lander. The European Space Agency landed up on here, and they did samples of it, and it was 100% biology, 100%. And they freaked out. They didn't know what to say about it, and I did. And I talked to everybody. Trust me.
So wait. Let me ask you a couple questions here, real quick. I'll turn my sound back off after that. But you're saying it's a leg joint of something, some biological animal. The whole thing was tested to be biological. That must mean there's some kind of supersized animals somewhere.
Yes, all of the ones you saw in space. You've seen.
How big of an asteroid or meteor are we looking at here? It's hard to tell for me.
Yeah, well, I'll show you how big it is in a second. But here's what it is looking from a different perspective. I think this is the hip socket or joint or whatever, and this is where the bone attaches somewhere. I can't remember, but I did have an autopsy guy tell me what it was too. But like I say, this goes back 8 years ago. I think it was a hip socket. And the autopsy people, they have no problem. Yeah, you're right. No question whatsoever. Same thing with Umaru Maru. Comet Umaru Maru is a fingertip. I'll show you that. Well, it's a finger. Hold on. All of these things in space are from this collision with Mars. All right, the collision with Mars caused the catastrophe and sent all these body parts in space, because they had giant creatures there too, and we have them here on Earth. You know about Quetzalcoatl and Typhon and all those, right? You know about those, Jim?
I don't, sir. No, sir.
Really? Hold on one second, brother. Oh my God! I thought
pretty well read, but there's always something.
Well, let me just show you something. Here's Apollodorus. All right, Apollodorus wrote these books, and he was a Greek scholar.
Now I know Apollyon, Apollo, Horus. I know that entire story and all about that.
No, here let me just guide you through this. This is the original Greek myth of how the world started. Sky ruled over the whole world, and he wedded the earth, and they had the 100-handed, and they named them all this stuff. And then they had the Cyclopses. All of this is what they taught. And then they had all of these, the oceans and the Cyprus and Iapetus and all of these moons. And the earth grieved the destruction of her children. Her children are being eaten by Kronos. And then Zeus comes up, and he takes over, the birth of Zeus. He's the one that takes over and fights against Typhon. Now, I'm going to cut right down to 6. This is all about everything. The War of the Titans, the Olympian gods, Apollo, Demeter. Now we're going to go to the War of the Titans. Wait till you hear this. Now, you could read all this stuff, but I'm just going to go to 1.6.2. Because this is after they're killing all the giants. It says in the battle, well, let me just cut towards the end. It gets kind of long here. But at the very end, when they overthrew the giants, it says, Hermes, wearing the helmet of Hades, slew Hippolytus in the fight, and Artemis slew Gratian. And the Fates, fighting with brazier clubs, killed Argeus and Thoas. The other giants Zeus smote and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. He would shoot them in the eyes. Now this is what was written, and I'm telling you, I believe it now, because here's why I believe it. Excuse me. When the gods had overcome the giants, then that means they wiped out the giants. Earth was more enraged and had intercourse with Tartarus, which is like hell, and brought forth Typhon. He was a hybrid between man and beast, and he had, in strength and size, nothing was bigger than him. As far as his thighs, he was of human shape, and such prodigious bulk he outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. All right? He had 100 dragon's heads, which were all burnt off by Zeus, it said. From the thighs downward, he had huge coils of vipers. We're going to look into that. His body was all winged and unkempt, and his head and cheeks, fire flashed from his eyes. All right? He chased the gods, and the gods were so scared they changed themselves into animals. Listen to this. Such and so great was Typhon. When hurling kindled rocks, he made for the very heavens with hissing and shouts, spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth, which we will always also see. But when the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight. Being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. And Venus changed herself into a fish, and Typhon got the fish. And I'll show you that. Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance with thunderbolts and cut his throat. And here he is right here in the desert. I'll show you Zeus. I'll show you Typhon. Here he is right there. That's Typhon. That's his head right here. I'm going to show you better. This maybe make it easier. Hold on. I was just up there looking at the thing from Marrakesh. Terrible. All right, here's Typhon. All right. That's what he looks like outlined. All right, these are dragon scales. And I'll show you those. This is what he spit out. All this black stuff is really red and green and nasty, nasty. This is his snout and his head. There's his flared, flaming red eye they talked about. This is going to be his throat, where he would have swallowed people. And all this flashy stuff runs down the side of him, the same stuff you see in the parades in China. All right, so that's what he looks like. Now, here's what he looks like without his makeup on. All right, here he is, same guy, no makeup. All right, here he is right here. Now, there's that flashy stuff going down. There's his throat. All this is the runoff of a decaying body. Those are body fluids. That's not his body. The body starts behind these scales. So let's look at him in actual, right here. Here he is right here. Now I said this is his throat, right? Remember that? And I said those are scales. Well, those are dragon scales, my friend. And he can bend his neck. That's why they're in these little plates. That lets his neck be able to bend. And he goes all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, until Zeus cut his throat, right here. And that's all blood running out from that gash in his throat. He was cut with Zeus's great and mighty sword. Now, his head is over here. Here's this red flared eye, you see it? There's his eye, and it trails right back there. This is his nose right up here, and there's the top of his head comes around. There's that flashy stuff you see in the parades. They knew what these things were. We just laughed at it. Now, all of that stuff coming out of his mouth is actually coming out of his beards. He's got two beards here. You see these two beards? Excuse me. This one.
Mr. Spur,
Yeah.
we've been on for an hour and a half, and I thought maybe we'd start doing this more regularly.
Sure.
In about an hour and a half periods. Would you be interested in maybe next Sunday, or if not that, 2 Sundays from now?
Anytime. Yeah, I got plenty of time.
Sunday afternoons seem to be good because people are around, and I was going to pre-invite you and just kind of say, hey, I'll send you a text Saturday evening to remind you, and then we kind of pick up it every week for a few minutes to pick your brain. It sounds like you have so much knowledge it would take us years to, well, absorb it.
Well, let me tell you something. Let's just start. I don't have a lot of knowledge. I just have a lot of interest. But I do, I guess you'd have to say I have a lot of knowledge. But everybody has been forced.
They didn't hear me. I apologize, guys. I just said that we'd like to have Roger on more frequently, and he has so much knowledge that I think that it would take many times to have him on to absorb some of the knowledge that he has to offer.
Well, here's the deal, Jim. Here's the deal. Right now, there is literally zero that we have been taught that's true. That is like theoretical. You know, and even geology. Geology is obviously ridiculous. This right here, you see this? This is where the blood supply is in that fish. That fish was hit by a toxin that dissolve the scales. These are arteries. They run into blood vessels. The blood vessels run into these which are capillaries. The capillaries squirt the remainder of the fluids into these lymph ducts and veins. The black and so forth is the lymph ducts and the veins. This is the back of the fish. You see, remember I told you they change themselves into animals? That's a fish. And that's where he spit all the stuff on the fish's back. Yeah, we could go on forever, brother, because right now space is totally wrong with what they tell us about space. You know, everything out there, even the asteroids and meteorites, they're all body parts, 100%. There's nothing that's not biology. Nothing.
So it sounds like we need to get together much more often. I'm going to try to shoot for you and push you into next Sunday. Same bat time, same bat place. I'd love to know more about all of the asteroids being body parts, and I think that would be a great subject. I'd like to hear where you think they came from, and what their body parts are. Bigger humans or animals or what?
Well, they are the giants, Jim. Let me just leave you with this now. I know you want to get running. Let me just show you one last thing. Where am I over here? There we go.
So Roger, would you approve of coming on next Sunday?
Absolutely, absolutely. No question whatsoever.
All right, then I will just wait for you to show this slide and fill my volume again. Hold on.
You see that? That's Raleigh, North Carolina, and Comet 67P is that size, that what comet I showed you. That's how big it is. This artery right here, hold on, maybe I can grab another shot of it. Let's see. There it is. The thing that I showed you that was shooting out that really brilliant white big one, this thing is 160 meters across. That's 500 feet. That's how big the artery is. 500 feet across is the artery. All right, and that one there, right here, is shooting out this big jet, 500 feet across. And all that is exactly the same stuff that comes off your barbecue grill. All right, I know we've got to close it up.
So you know what? Let's do same bat time, same bat channel. I will text you on Saturday to confirm, if you will, and maybe we can talk more about these what I thought were asteroids and meteors.
Well, again, everything that we have been told is not correct.
And that's why I want to pick your brain. You sound more educated than myself, so.
Well, we can work this out together. We can understand this together. That's all I want, is for people to start to discuss this and be rational about it, rather than say this guy's just crazy. And that's all I've had is just a complete shutdown. Because if they look me up, they're going to say, "Oh, this is a Mudfossil guy. He's a nutcase." Well, I'm not, and I don't stand down from the truth. It is what it is. And these, like I showed you, those ancient texts are extremely correct. And I'm going to tell you what, that was 3,500 years ago. This was not millions of years ago. This happened 3,500 years ago.
And listen, I think we're on what's called a 3,600-year cycle that the governments know about by looking through the different layers of the Grand Canyon and digging some of the excavations. A 3,600-year, what I believe to be pole flip, where the sun flips every 11 years, the magnetic poles. So we're getting up there to where we're going to go through another event, if you will. I'm not quite sure what causes it at this point, but I have been working on that for a bit.
Well, I think, here, work on this, my friend. 3,600 years, that is supposedly the orbital time frame of Nibiru. And this happened approximately 3,600, 3,500 years ago. Velikovsky said this was when the
So,
cat...
hey, I'm on your same page for sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it same time, same channel? That would be 3 Central and 4 p.m. Eastern time next Sunday. Does that sound like a deal?
It sounds like a deal to me.
All right. Well, I want to really thank you for all your wonderful knowledge, and it sounds like you follow a lot of the same things that I do, and have a lot of different opinions. And I welcome as many opinions and as much learning and knowledge as I can find in the universe, right?
Me too, brother, because I'm going to tell you right now, like you said, you're retired, I'm retired. I'm looking at, is there an eternity? So let's figure out if there is. All right, so we'll set it up for next time, next place.
Hey, I want everyone to give Roger a thumbs up on the chat over here, and I want to thank you again, Mr. Spur.
All right, oh, by the way, I just want to mention, don't forget, Mudfossil University is where...
That's right, at Mudfossil University. We'll get you to the channel, guys. And that's exactly like it. It's just one word.
Yeah, it's all one word. Mudfossil University on YouTube.
And in all the advertisements that you guys saw, all you have to do is hit the little thing that I put up there. It takes you to his channel.
Perfect.
So, fantastic. I appreciate you. It was my pleasure. This is your Zoom call because you have the pro version. So I'm going to shut everything else down, but you'll have to shut the Zoom down.
Yeah,
Same time, same channel.
Okay.
Next week.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
God bless you, sir.
All right. Take care. Thank you. I appreciate your interest. All right.
Awesome guy.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.